Come on in, you guys. We're about ready to start a brand new episode of my show called Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. If you're going to engage in the show, that's the kind of go-to place, the central hub for all things Jimmy Rants. You can see all the past episodes there at JimmyRants.com. But we start this show over on Instagram Live. We also simulcast on both of my Facebook pages. So thank you guys for being here. But go follow me over on Instagram. I am at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, engage in the content. We do go live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. On the weekends, on Saturday, Sunday, we go live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And sometimes we'll throw in a 5 o'clock. So yesterday I wasn't feeling well the few days before. So yesterday I was trying to take it easy, just seeing how I felt and everything. So I did not do an 11 a.m. Jimmy Rants yesterday, but I did do a 5 p.m. one in case you missed it last night. So again, go check that out, JimmyRants.com. We also throw all the past episodes up on YouTube. Type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Okay, so I love shows like the one we're about to do here today because literally, you are the star. You have questions. I want to answer your questions. So this is called Ask Me Anything, and it's Ask Me Anything by design. I literally want to hear any question you have about literally anything that I have expertise on. So that's keto, cholesterol, fasting, carnivore, childhood trauma, podcasting, entrepreneurialism, writing a book. Like literally ask me whatever you want. Or maybe there's just something you've always died knowing about me for some reason. I'm a very boring guy, so I can tell you there's not much to ask about me. But if you got questions, I definitely want to answer. And so here on my Facebook page, they already know I am requesting questions. And now here on Instagram. So I'm going to let you guys kind of think of questions, write them down there. We'll get to as many of them as we can. But how are we doing? Like a lot of us have been holed up for weeks in our houses. We are doing the best that we can, trying to get through this COVID-19 quarantine. I know for me, I have had minimal contact outside of my home. I pretty much stayed holed up the whole time. And it's really weird for me because in the 6 months prior to all of this going down, I was on a sabbatical, like where I was literally distanced from people, kind of being quarantined, kind of thinking a lot and relaxing and trying to do all these things to chill. So I get back and a week and a half later is when all this stuff goes down. So it's been the weirdest thing for me coming back from a long sabbatical and then back a week and a half and then going back into somewhat of sabbatical mode. It's been just, it's so odd to me, but it's so odd and yet familiar. There's a lot of people that they've got this extra time. They're trying to figure out what to do with that extra time. They're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, this is so different than my normal life. And what I'm saying is, hey, enjoy it. Like you get this opportunity to, and maybe that's the opportunity that some people are missing right now. Don't miss this chance to take a breather. Now I realize there's stress is still out there. People are losing their jobs. People are still fearful about the coronavirus itself. And some of the just things we're seeing in the world right now can be kind of depressing, blah, blah, blah. But I want you to really take stock on a personal level of how you can take this time to relax and chill and reflect and realize kind of where you are in your life. When else in your life would you have gotten this opportunity to just evaluate where you are? So I know a lot of people are seeing this as a negative. Make this the positive part of it. Let it be your wake-up call. That if you got stuff going on in your head, maybe use this time to analyze and think it through. I know for me, that was a big part of the sabbatical I was on, was I was able to think through things that but for going away for 6 months, I would have never really thought about. And now I've come out the other end of it and I'm much better as a result. All right. It is Ask Me Anything time. I definitely want to see your questions. So fire away. Whatever you want to know, ask me the question and we'll have fun with this. JimmyRants.com, as always, is the website for all the past episodes, so go check that out. Also, all of them on YouTube. Type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants. All right. MP Laughlin has the first question. Hope you're feeling better. Do you take vitamins? Yes, I do take vitamins. I have some specific ones that I take. I have a multivitamin that I actually own a company called Keto Living. I don't really push it a whole lot because I'm not that push kind of person when it comes to products, but ketoliving.com, and we have a Keto Essentials multivitamin. It was developed by me and Dr. Adam Nally, Doc Muscles, here on Instagram. And it's literally got all kinds of things in there that you don't find in a multivitamin in the stores. Things like methylated folate. It's got lots of stuff. Just go check it out, you guys. Lots of really cool things in there, including vitamin C, which is kind of the vitamin du jour right now with this coronavirus out there. I also take, and especially since the COVID-19 thing hit, I've been taking about 25 to 30,000 IU of vitamin D. And somebody the other day said, well, what's the form? So you want the liquid gel caps. So if you get vitamin D, don't do it in kind of a pill form. You want gel caps. And pretty much there's no like good one versus a bad one. So if you find gel caps, try to not to get like a soybean oil gel cap. If you get one, there's some that are in olive oil, some are in coconut oil. Just avoid the seed oils like soybean oil. And it's pretty good. So right now I'm upping it. Typically I take about 10 to 15,000 on a regular basis of vitamin D3 is what you're looking for in the store. On top of that, I also take a organ complex because organ meats. So there are companies out there. One that I really like is Paleo Valley, has a great organ complex. So you take about 6 of these pills and you get beef heart and liver and brain. They kind of put all of this really nutrient dense organ meat into these pills. So you basically swallow them, you know, never taste the organ meat. It's a creative way to get the organ meat in. I also take a fish oil supplement. I've been using the one lately from Primal Nutrition. So Mark Sisson's company has one. I take a couple of those a day. I did note before the sabbatical that I was low on omega-3s. And so taking fish oil is heart healthy and has a lot of great benefits for your entire cardiovascular system. And then like as needed, like right now, vitamin D with the concerns, or vitamin C with all the concerns about this coronavirus. You kind of target those things. I'm a very minimalist when it comes to taking a whole lot of supplements. I don't think you need to go overboard with them. If you're eating healthy nutrition and you're getting that on a regular basis and you're eliminating the junk, you don't really need that many vitamins. But thank you for asking that question. Great question. Again, if you're just joining us, we are doing an Ask Me Anything. So literally ask me anything you want and we'll try to answer it here on Jimmy Rants. Sadzi has the next question. Hi, Jimmy, you're looking good. What do you think of carb recycling on keto? Have you tried it or is it counterproductive? So I think you mean carb cycling. So for those of you that don't know, carb cycling means where you're eating low carb for a period of time, then you cycle in periods of higher carb to then cycle back out of higher carb back to lower carb again, vice versa. The concept there is it's supposed to keep your body guessing so that your body becomes adaptable to whatever situation. In theory, Sadzi, I think it's a good idea for people that have a little more metabolic flexibility. If you're insulin sensitive, you don't have a weight problem, you don't have blood sugar dysregulation, you've got everything pretty much working well, you probably don't need to be keto all the time. And so cycling in and out of higher carb, lower carb, you're going to obviously cycle in and out of ketosis. I don't think everybody in the world needs to stay in ketosis all the time. Who does though? Type 2 diabetes, morbid obesity, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, those are a big part of our population. So I do think as a whole, most people need to try to stay in ketosis as much as possible. So thus carb cycling in and out of ketosis would be counterproductive for those people. But if you're healthy and you're vibrant and you're insulin sensitive and you can handle more tolerance for carbohydrates, if you want to go higher carb on one day, and if you're an athlete, by the way, there are athletes that are keto all the way in the training, and then they go to do their race, and on that day they eat a crap load of carbohydrates, and it's basically rocket fuel. They'll burn through that rocket fuel, and then they got the fat burning that keeps and sustains them throughout their race. And at the end of the race, they're very much in ketosis, even though they might have had 300-400 grams of carbohydrate. But remember, they used it up. Those of us who are not elite athletes in marathons, for example, we could eat that many carbs, and it would take us weeks, if not months, to get back into ketosis again. So it's all about knowing who you are and trying strategies. Have I tried a carb cycling? No, because I know I have struggled for most of my life because I ate too many carbs in my past. I often joke that I've already had all the carbs I'm allowed to have in my life for my entire life in the first kind of 32 or so years of my life, that I'm not allowed to have any other carbs the rest of my life again. That's not true, but there is a principle there that if you've made poor choices in the past, they do come back to haunt you later in your life. So thus you probably should minimize your carbs now. Hope that answers your question. Beth says, how are you feeling? Are you still symptomatic? No, I feel better. I don't know what happened with those sudden feelings of tiredness. Those of you that didn't hear, on Monday at around 4:30, I was planning on doing a Jimmy Rants at 5 o'clock. 4:30, I just got suddenly tired and had to go lay down. Again, Tuesday at 4 o'clock p.m., same thing. I got really tired and had to lay down. On Wednesday is when all you know what broke loose, and I got extremely tired like an hour after waking up and I had to go lay down. And then I came and did a Jimmy Rants at 11 a.m. As soon as that was over, I was talking to a friend on video chat, and suddenly that tired feeling hit me again. I laid down and slept for 2.5 hours. Woke up, went and ate some eggs from my backyard chickens, got finished eating a half an hour later, super tired again, laid down, slept for 9.5 hours that night. Then yesterday, I was like, okay, I don't want to push it, so I kind of took it easy yesterday and did very minimal activity yesterday and did fine. Was not tired one time until the natural time of going to bed. And then today I feel really great. I had really good sleep. I posted on my stories today here on Instagram my Oura Ring results. And I got normal deep sleep. I got over like 2.5 hours of deep sleep, an hour and a half of REM sleep, and I feel great today. So I don't know what that was. Some people surmised it could have been a stress effect. Maybe I'm depressed right now, which I can't imagine why anybody would be depressed right now. Some people were like, get to the heart clinic immediately. You're having a heart attack. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. So many things were thrown out there, but I don't know. Maybe it was exhaustion. I don't know. Anyway, thank you, Beth. I feel much better today. Ilza takes offense to me saying organ meats are bleh. Ilza, you're weird. I'm sorry, darling. She said, oh, come on. Organ meats are yummy. We love our liver. Yeah, in America, nobody says they, quote, love their liver. Same with Liv Frisk says organ meat's very good. Ugh. MP Laughlin, zinc. Thank you. Do you take zinc? Yeah, it's in my multivitamin, the Keto Essentials multivitamin. I don't take any extra on top of that, though. Rachel says, would you list the website you purchased the organ meat supplements from? So, Paleo Valley is the name of the company. Just Google them. I think it's paleovalley.com. I know that when I buy their organ meat pills, it's freeze-dried pills, and it's high-quality grass-fed animals, by the way. Really good people. I've known them for many years now, since my paleo days. And I think if you buy 5 bottles, they give you a 6th bottle for free. Anyway, paleovalley.com probably is the website, but hopefully that helps you out, Rachel. Pink Puggy says, liver pate is the only way I can eat it. Tastes good with sharp cheddar cheese. I have tried to have pate before. Oh, I must have like a real sensitive like taste buds or palate, because I try and I get the gag reflex every time I try to eat liver straight up. I know people are like, hide it in ground beef. I'm like, I still taste it. It's disgusting. Yuck. So that's why I do the freeze-dried version from Paleo Valley. I think you should always take magnesium. Again, the magnesium is in my multivitamin. So that multi that we created, Dr. Nally and I created, is pretty thorough, so we don't have to add any additional on top of that. Jax says, not really a question, but would like to hear your opinion on all the baking everyone is doing during this pandemic. It makes me worry about my friends' health, but it's also a form of relaxation. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword right now, Jax, because they do say baking is very cathartic for people. And I know, as someone who likes to cook, when I'm cooking, I am in my element, and I love, love, love the process and the relaxation that comes from cooking. But the problem does come into play of, okay, what are you baking? And are you using flour and sugar? And even if you aren't using flour and sugar and you're being keto, all that almond flour and those sweeteners, they're not intended to be used every day. And so I do have concern too. I think right now, whatever can get us to chill in the midst of this and to get us through, especially those of you with little kids, I get it. You've got to occupy the little ones, and you got to make sure that they're happy and doing all the things. So maybe you look at it as a temporary thing and you tighten up after it's over. Fine. But you're right, Jax. I think the baking could become a habit that once this is all over, do you continue that because it's now a tradition? So I'm with you there. I think it could be a slippery slope for a lot of people. Derek says, I'm in the hospital right now just after a heart attack. They entered a stent and I'm feeling better, but now the doctors are pushing for me to be on a statin going forward. I've had many conversations. So Derek, of all the people that they have looked at statin drugs benefiting, the ones who benefit the most tend to be ones who have already had a cardiovascular event. So I'm sorry you had a heart attack. I'm sorry you had to have a stent put in. But you do seem to, at least in the short term, have some benefit. Now, do I think you need to stay on it forever? No. Do I think you can lower the inflammation that led to the heart attack to begin with? You can do it naturally. Yes. So that's where eating keto, being really strict about it, being real careful about not allowing in any extras into it, doing all these anti-inflammatory types of things like deep breathing exercises, meditation, infrared sauna, yoga, all of those things can contribute. And then there's supplements like curcumin. I could go on and on with all the supplements that are chill that help to lower inflammation. But just know that it's not an inevitability. You have to go on this and stay on this. Probably in the short term, it's not a bad idea because statin drugs do have a benefit. I know we vilify them a lot, but they do have a benefit for people that have had a cardiovascular event. It does quickly reduce your inflammation. And so I think as a stopgap measure for now, listen to your doctor's orders, but with the goal of, I want to come off of these sooner than later. Okay? So have that discussion with your doc. Bonnie says, I'm not motivated to lose 40 pounds more due to being cooped up, but I am losing a few here and there. Does keto know I need more pounds lost and that's why it happens, or am I depressed and losing? I don't know your situation, Bonnie. I do know, having talked to you a few times, that you have been really dedicated to your low-carb keto lifestyle. And even though things might be in there a little different than they normally are, your body still is in a very good fat-burning mode position. So we forget, oh, well, all that work we put into up to now, it's still having an effect. You've revved that engine to the point that perhaps because you've been at this so long, perhaps that you've gotten good at it, maybe you didn't realize your carb tolerance might have increased. And so now you're getting the benefit from it. You're having a little more of things that maybe you didn't think you could, and you're still seeing benefits. So I would say celebrate it. I don't think it has anything to do with being depressed unless you're losing weight, unless you're purposely not eating enough calories. Be mindful of that, you guys. Watch yourself. Like right now, it's so tempting to just be so caught up in the negativity of what's happening in our world right now that you're inadvertently under eating food. I know a lot of people doing this right now, and they're depressed. And of course, once you under eat food, that changes hormones that make you more depressed. Be mindful to get adequate calories. Congratulations, by the way, Bonnie, if you are losing weight and you are still eating adequate calories and yet you're losing weight. Good job. Yeah, I think your body is very primed because you've been in a fat burning mode for so long. Mama Three Chick says, I already ate a lifetime's worth of sugar and garbage. Yeah, I know some people have done that during this craziness that we're in right now, but try to resist that urge. Cariana says, do you think all carbs are created equal? Oat fiber triggers cravings for me. For example, sweet potatoes, not so much. No, I think the worst of the worst is sugar. Then refined grains and starches are probably next. Then after that, I would even say whole grains. After that, I would say the natural sugars in foods like fruit. After that, then we're getting into things that are like you're talking about oat fiber. We're talking about starchy carbohydrates like sweet potatoes. And then, of course, fiber that's naturally occurring in things like green leafy vegetables. That's probably the most innocuous carbohydrate. And same with like an avocado, the fiber that's in there. So there is a sliding scale of how bad carbs are. I don't think all carbs are created equal. No. I think some are extremely bad. I don't think anybody needs to be eating refined sugars. I don't think anybody needs to be eating a man-made sugar like high fructose corn syrup. Nobody needs to be having refined grains in the form of flour and things like that. But where your mileage may vary is exactly what you're pointing out here. Oat fiber, sweet potatoes. You just got to know yourself. And the best way to know yourself is test your blood sugar. Because your blood sugar doesn't lie. If your blood sugar responds in a negative way, then you know that food's not good for you. So good for you being self-aware that sweet potatoes are a better option for you. Ilza says, have you tried cow tongue? Yeah, actually I have tried cow tongue. I remember it was a few years back. I always wanted to try it. So I was working with a farmer at the time down the road from me about 20 miles, and they've since closed down. But back then, I would go to her and say, hey, I want to try cow tongue. So she would get me a couple of cow tongues. It was like $2 for 2 cow tongues because they were just throwing them away. Nobody wanted the cow tongue. And I had heard about, making like taco meat with lingue or whatever it's called when you cut open the tongue. So I stick them in a crock pot in a slow cooker. It stunk up the whole house. I put the apple cider vinegar and all the things in there, but it stunk up the whole friggin' house. And here's this long tongue and just kind of hanging out. And I remember finishing cooking it and then slitting it down the middle and opening it up, and all this beautiful meat was right there. And I remember I took a fork and I got it all out of there. And it's kind of the idea of eating food that you think is licking you back. So it was a little bit kind of the mind games of it all. But I ate it, and it had kind of a little bit of a wang to me. So I added in blueberries to it, and it softened down the wang, and I was able to eat it. It was delicious. Cow tongue is an underrated part of the cow that nobody eats. Let's see here. Christy says, same here. I love cooking, but making sure it's all keto. Also wanting not to be a part of the weight gain statistic of this pandemic. Yeah, I really hate this idea of the COVID-20 or the COVID-25. Everybody thinks just because we're all cooped up in our houses that there's nothing better to do but, eat. That we're all going to gain 20, 25 pounds. It doesn't have to be that way. It's not an inevitability, but people... I guess they think they need that. Ilza says, laughter and a good cry is so much more effective in stress release. I agree. I have tried to point people to go to Netflix or YouTube or something and watch some comedy. You know what I've been doing lately is I've been on YouTube quite a bit. So hi to all my YouTubers out there, but been on YouTube, and Family Feud posts all of these little clips of like some of the answers. And Steve Harvey, I think, is a trip and a half, you guys. So he'll ask these questions, and there's some weird questions that invite very strange answers. And so I've been like laughing my head off at watching a whole bunch of these Family Feud clips. If you haven't looked at those on YouTube, definitely go check them out. Just type in Family Feud Steve Harvey. You will find all of them. Hilarious, hilarious, hilarious. Debbie says, my calcium levels are low. I don't want to take calcium vitamins. What can I take? Okay. So when your calcium is low, it doesn't mean you need to take more calcium. This is kind of an interesting thing that people don't realize. When your calcium is low, it could be that you're not taking enough, listen to this, vitamin D. And you're like, vitamin D, what does that have to do with my calcium? The role that vitamin D plays in the body, one of the roles, is to put calcium where it needs to be. So if your calcium levels are low, it means your vitamin D level is very likely low. So you didn't put it here, Debbie, but what is your vitamin D level? And I would argue it's probably less than optimal. So take more vitamin D and watch your C levels normalize. People neglect that. Maybe they think, oh, okay, my calcium levels are low, therefore I need to take more calcium. You need to get more vitamin D into your body. I hope that helps you out. To fix MJ, don't worry about me, Jimmy. I eat when I'm hungry. Yeah, most people are trying to do that, I know, in the keto space, but sometimes the head hunger, the boredom, the emotional eating all kind of kicks in times like we have right now. MJ also said, I think I can eat potatoes because I'm Irish heritage. I lost 65 pounds eating cooked carrots every other day, but not a whole lot of them. Yeah, I'm 70% Irish, by the way. And I like sweet potatoes. I'm not a big fan of white potatoes. Like even when I was a garbage eater, I didn't have like a steak and baked potato. I would eat it every once in a while, but it just didn't really appeal to me. Grew up eating tongue sandwiches, and I loved it that way, says Linda. Tongue sandwiches. Yummy. Sadsy says, does feeding times matter when it comes to weight loss? No, I don't think it does. I think feeding window could matter. So those of you that don't already eat within a tight window of say 5 to 7 hours, 5 to 8 hours of eating, you probably should do that. So what's that look like? So your last meal of the day, let's say it's 6 o'clock at night. Don't eat again until noon the next day. Then your feeding window is 12 to 6. So it means you'll eat something at around 12. Maybe you'll have a little something in the in-between around 3, and then eat something by 6 o'clock. That 6-hour feeding window now means you get 18 hours of an intermittent fast. And in those 18 hours when you're not eating any food, you will survive. You don't need food. You got plenty of energy in your body to keep you well satiated. And of course, if you're keto adapted, all of this is very natural. It happens naturally without you even trying. Don't try to do this from a crappy carbage diet and try to fast for 18 hours. You'll go crazy. But go keto, get fat adapted, and you'll find it's extraordinarily easy to eat 1, maybe 2 meals a day, and that's all you need for the entire day. And then the rest of that time, you're intermittent fasting and you're getting the benefits of it. So in that sense, Sadsy, feeding time does matter if you're eating within that feeding window. Does that make sense? So you want to give your body a chance to relax. The pancreas doesn't have to work as hard, doesn't have to pump out as much insulin to deal with all that food that you're consuming. Debbie says, you're right, my vitamin D is low too. So get your vitamin D higher, Debbie, and that will raise your calcium in your blood. Rachel says, what do you do for electrolytes? So there is a couple of companies that I use for electrolytes. The one I like the most, though, is Keto Vitals. And they're not a sponsor or anything. They have been a sponsor in the past, but they're not a sponsor. But ketovitals.com is probably their website. And they have both pill forms that you can take of their electrolytes, but I like their powder. And what I sometimes like to do is take their powder, which is flavored. I think they got a fruit punch, maybe like a mango one or something. They have flavored powders that you could put into water, mix up and drink. People like to do that. Or what I've found to be creative about them is to take some gelatin and mix it up with the Keto Vitals. Then you have a flavored gelatin that you can just pop in your mouth, and I'll pop 3 or 4 of those and I get all the electrolytes I need. So I love Keto Vitals. There are other companies out there. There's another one called Jigsaw Electrolytes that I've tried. They have like a lemon lime flavor powder. So go, yeah, check out either one of those brands. Brittany says tongue sandwiches are better than Wish sandwiches. 2 pieces of bread and wish there was something in between. Oh, you're so funny, Brittany. So funny. Lou Jean says, when are we going to do another fast together like we did before the sabbatical? Lou Jean, right now, I think fasting is the last thing we need to do. And you're referring to like a week-long 7-day fast. This is not the right time. Because people are like, oh, are you fasting, extended fasting during this time? I said no, because right now people are stressed. Right now people are anxious. People are not in a good place in their body to be ready for a fast. Because whether we want to admit it or not, trying to fast for 7 days is a stressor on the body. And so the last thing you want to do is, when you're already stressed, to add another stressor on the body. So no, I do not plan on doing any extended fasting challenges in the midst of all this. If it all is over by like September, October, maybe we'll do one later in the year. But right now, people just need to stay chill and calm and get through this time. Bonnie says, I think it's common after winter to have low vitamin D. Mine was low too, so I'm taking a supplement. I take a supplement even during the summertime. I'll supplement with vitamin D just because I want to make sure my levels stay in kind of that 50 to 80 range. And I have in the past had low ranges. I know people have had super low, and when you go super low is when you're in trouble. All right, so let me pop over to my Facebook page now. Thank you, Instagram. And we'll see what you guys have as questions. As always, thank you, Live and La Vida Low Carb Facebook page, for being here. I can't see your comments, so please leave your comments. I will look at them after we're over. But I'm going to go to my Facebook page. What's up, you guys? Let's see what questions you have. I'm glad I have my beef in the freezer that we butchered, says Holly. Yeah. Right now, if you've got a whole bunch of meat in your freezer, that's awesome. It is getting harder to find meat in the stores, but it's still out there. You do the best you can. Kimberly says, have you researched carnivore and its ability or not to mitigate fatty liver? Have you been tested for fatty liver? I do not have fatty liver, Kimberly. I have actually healed my insulin resistance as of last year. I got various tests done, and especially right before the sabbatical, went to see a traditionally trained doctor who's into keto nutrition, and he's like, I'm looking at your blood markers and you don't have insulin resistance anymore. So without insulin resistance, you can't have fatty liver. As for carnivore and its ability to mitigate fatty liver, carnivore is just a revved up version of keto. And one of the greatest ways to help with a fatty liver, which, by the way, fatty liver does not come from eating dietary fat. It actually comes from eating dietary carbohydrate in excess. How does that happen? So one of the roles the liver plays is converting the carbohydrate that you consume over into a usable source of energy. And so when that usable source of energy becomes excess, the liver just kind of gets fattier and fattier and fattier. All that kind of builds up. So people have this notion to get fatty livers because they ate a lot of fat. It's because you ate a lot of carbohydrate. So a carnivore diet has 0 carbohydrate. So it stands to reason that a carnivore diet would be incredibly healthy for fatty liver. And Mitzi's saying the same thing. Fatty liver can be reversed with carnivore. It is not caused by eating fat or animal products. It's caused by overconsumption and processed carbs. Mitzi, I think you could do Jimmy Rants. I think Mitzi Rants has a nice ring to it. Mitzi's a good friend of mine. Maria, I take my vitamin, fish oil, and metformin in one swallow after a decent breakfast. Is that just as effective, or should I separate? Girl, when I take mine, Maria, I have like a whole handful. Take the water. Just don't choke on them, I suppose. But no, as far as I know, there's no problem with taking them together. Let's see. Mandy says, you're not alone. I don't like organ meats either. I have to hide it in other things to choke it down. Yes. Sherry wants to know, is carnivore good or bad? Well, I've been on carnivore for about a year and a few months. I like it. I like it a lot. I don't understand what the downside would be to carnivore other than people desiring like recipes. Like you can't make a nice, beautiful carnivore dessert. It just doesn't exist because the sweeteners and some other things. So I don't think you sweat it though. Like people are like, oh my gosh, you had a piece of lettuce with your meat. You're not carnivore. Like that's nonsense to me. And a lot of us who've done carnivore for a while, we realize, okay, meat is the grand central focus of the diet. But if you want to add in avocado, what's the harm? If you want to add in some oils like olive oil, avocado oil, those kinds of things, what's the big deal? So I think don't be anal retentive about it, and I think it could be an extremely healthy way for you to eat. All right, so let's go back to Instagram. Got a few more minutes left. We can talk about Ask Me Anything. Let's see what else you guys have. Have you ever consumed Epsom salt in your water for your daily magnesium? No, when I get magnesium, I get it in magnesium in a pill. And generally in my multivitamin, like I mentioned earlier. I have heard of doing Epsom salt baths. I don't consume the Epsom salt, but I do have some in there. I got a big old bucket of it in there, and we'll soak in some magnesium salts, which does help. And it helps you sleep too. Here's the thing, people neglect the role of magnesium as a sleep aid. So if you're having trouble sleeping, take some magnesium, soak in a magnesium bath for about an hour before you go to bed, and you'll find you'll sleep like a baby. And sleep is another one of those things people neglect. They don't think about it being a part of their health, but it's such a critical part of your health that if you're not prioritizing doing things proactively to get sleep, then you're just depriving yourself of great benefits to your health. All right, guys, so I got a little more time. If you got any other questions, this is an Ask Me Anything segment. We're going to start doing these regularly on Fridays. I have a feeling people have all kinds of questions in the regular content that I'm doing, you're not getting that answered. So now is your chance. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Go ahead and ask what your questions are, and I would be delighted to answer them. So, I'm continuing my work, by the way. I've been meaning to say that sometimes people are like, well, are you going to keep doing your podcast? I had a podcast friend of mine reach out to me the other day. Are you putting your podcast on hold? I'm like, why would I put my podcast on hold? Right now, more than ever before, people are desperate to hear good, uplifting, positive content. And so I'm trying to do that, not just here on Jimmy Rants, but also on my podcasts. Generally on Tuesdays on the Living La Vida Low Carb show, I am doing a repeat of some Jimmy Rants audio, so people get exposed to that there. On Wednesdays, I've been featuring an interview with a childhood trauma and other kind of thing, because that was my focus when I got back from sabbatical, was talking a lot more about that. So had a bunch of that kind of content in the can. Thursdays, I do a show called Real Talk with Dr. Will Cole, and so we're still providing prescient content there as well. So yeah, we're just doing all the things to try to get the information out, and we will continue to do that. Looks like somebody has a question that they typed in, so we will go to you, Liv. What are your thoughts on CBD oil for helping with sleep? I'm a huge fan of CBD oil. I think if you're going to get CBD in your diet, you need to get full spectrum. I know there's kind of this debate between full spectrum and broad spectrum. I think the full spectrum gives you the most benefits. So does it help with sleep? I'm sure indirectly it does. I haven't noticed, and of course it's all subjective, how it helps with sleep, what it would do, but I know I take a pretty hefty dose of CBD oil pretty regularly. It helps calm you, and so maybe it's the calming effect that you get from CBD oil that provides a sleep benefit. But I don't take it specifically for sleep, but I do take it for stress and anxiety. If you're not already taking CBD oil in this time and you tend to be a little more stressed and anxious, give it a go. I think CBD oil can be magical for that purpose. All right, guys, looks like you are completely out of questions. So thank you for joining me here today on this episode of Jimmy Rants. We did an Ask Me Anything. Please go back and watch the past episodes at jimmyrants.com. We also throw everything up on YouTube. So type in keyword Jimmy Rants. You'll find the show. And then engage with me live right here, Instagram Live. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. And we would love to have you here at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Sometimes we do a 5 p.m. one during the week as well. Bonnie wants to know, what brand do you take in CBD? Charlotte's Web is what I take. Charlotte's Web is one of the better ones. We actually have a local CBD store here in Spartanburg, South Carolina, Bonnie, where I get mine from. Their quality is really good, so I don't even remember what the name brand is, but it's some local brand. But it's a full spectrum. Try to get the full spectrum CBD. I think it's a lot more effective than a broad spectrum. All right, guys, I am out of here. Thanks for watching Jimmy Rants. We'll be back again real soon. Bye. All right.